Now, why we are interested in going for a more complex model? The artificial neural networks are basically inspired from the perceptron models, which we have seen here right now. You can see this is a kind of perceptron model which we have discussed currently. The artificial neural network actually look at more than one neuron, as one neuron cannot describe many complex processes or complex functions which approximate real processes. So hence, we would like to have a network of neuron, which we call neural network, and since it is constructed by, it's called artificial neural network, to represent and learn complex functions that can describe many real-time data as well as real processes. And this particular neural network is inspired from the brain, where many neurons are involved in a decision making. Not a single neuron, but it is a collective decision is made by collective efforts of many neurons. All the neurons are interconnected through some way, and often they are arranged in a hierarchical layers. So these are some of the structures of brain which inspires us to go towards artificial neural networks. And the last part is only certain neurons are activated for each decision making. So complete all the neurons in the brain are not lighten up, but certain part of the neurons are actually get activated to make a certain decisions depending on the task, and hence these are some of the characteristics of neural networks in the brain. Can we actually develop something similar for describing and learning complex processes? So feed-forward neural networks has an input layer which takes feature X. It has the hidden layers. Those are the functions which connected in a chain of interconnections. And there are output layers which basically predict quantity of interest. In certain cases, if it's a multi-class problem, it will multiple output. It is a regression problem, it will be a set of outputs, and binary class, there will be only two outputs. And the X will flow from input through this mass of networks, hidden layers, and generate the output. Simple way you can think of that, X is you are applying function 1, a complex function 1 on X, and the output of that, let's say I have an output here somewhere, that is that particular output is the input to the fx2 and x, and then vice versa till the last one. Hence, this will be kind of function of function kind of structure will be created, and that allows us to create a complex functions that is not possible with simple single hidden layer or two hidden layers in general. And this is the reason it makes y hat as close as possible to the underlying idle fx star, or this particular f of x will be very close to f star, or provide us a better learning of underlying function f star, so that we can predict labels wise as accurate as possible. So input layer is the zeroth layer which has the n inputs. So this is what x is a vector. in a data we have a often set of vectors depending on observations. So this is one observations you can think of. Here L minus 1 are hidden layers with m neurons each. That's what kind of construction I'm looking for. The output layer is the Lth layer. So I have a 0th layer and the layer after, and I have a Lth layer which are output layer, and in between I have a L minus 1 hidden layers, and each of them has a m neurons or m nodes, and I am considering the output layer with the p outputs. This output can be a p classes or p dependent variables in the regressions task. Now let me define Wk, which is a matrix containing the weight between layers k and k plus 1, where the k is basically between 0, k and L. So here at any layer I have a Wk matrix. It is a m cross n dimension for layer 1, and after that it will be m cross m dimension. Similarly, I will have Bk, which is a vector of dimension m cross 1. The L minus 1 layer, which is just layer before the output layer, the dimension will be p cross m, and for a WL weight matrix, and for the bias it will be vector of p cross 1. Now let's look at the simple example here where I have a x1, x2, 2 as the inputs, z1 and z2 are some variables, h1 is a hidden layer number 1 and hidden layer number 2, and we are going to use to demonstrate some of the calculation which we can do with this here. Of course, there will be again after hidden layers, depending on whether we have more hidden layers or not, or we may have some output layers which produces certain output. Of course, there can be multiple outputs. I am just drawing only one output. For single output p is equal to 1, WL will be a vector and BL will be a scalar. So if there is only one output, then it will be a vector because you can see, and B will be a scalar. WL1, WL2, and this will be L, and this will be my output Y. Each neuron in hidden and output layer has some element wise activation. So there is no activation on input layer. And typically in deep neural network, as I told you, we have at least 2-3 hidden layers. And in a feed forward, we calculate the output as a function of input and these weights and the biases. The weights are, you can see, these are the weights, these are the biases. So let's look at how input to activation function at layer 1. So here, as I told you, the Z11, which is the vector. So Z11 here is equal to Z11, Z12 is equal to W0 x plus B0. W0 here is, if you can see, 2 cross 2 dimensional matrix. B0 is 2 cross 1, and remember x is 2 cross 1. Now, once we do, we have Z, which is computed, which is input to my hidden layer 1. So there will be a alpha, which is mapping is function is applied on Z1, and the output is B1, H1. Now input to activation function at layer 2 would be W1 H1 plus B1, which is equal to Z2. So the output of hidden layer 1 is actually transformed to produce input to activation function at layer 2. This is the activation function alpha. We'll discuss about activation function in some times, what kind of functions are possible. An activation at the hidden layer 2 is nothing but alpha 0 H2 and H2. If we have consider this as a 2 output, then we have a 2 output, or we can keep continuing and find out what should be the final output. Here H12 and H21 are considered to be a output function, or this is the final output layer. This is a hidden, and this is a input. The activation functions here, which we have used, like alpha or alpha O, has a certain forms. If we do not use alpha and alpha 0 as a nonlinear form, or we use only linear activation function, the neural network with the linear activation functions are behaving like a linear models. While we are interested in modeling a non-linearity, or we are interested in approximating a non-linear functions. Hence, to introduce non-linearity and to get a better approximation of a certain underlying ideal model function, we need to use non-linear activation function. The sigmoid is the one kind of nonlinear activation function with a domain between minus infinity and plus infinity, and the range of output is between 0 and plus 1. Tan H is another activation function, which is again domain is between minus infinity to plus infinity, and range is between minus 1 and 1. You can see here. We can see here again, irrespective of what is the x, the output is going to be between 0 and 1 for sigmoid, and minus 1 and 1. On other hand, ReLU, which is called rectified linear unit, is as a function is max of 0 and x. It has a domain in between minus infinity and plus infinity, and the range is between 0 and plus 8. So range provides you the output of this particular function. And rectified linear units are one of the most commonly used activation functions in the literature. Now the question is, what about the multi-class classification? We talked about sigmoid activation function, which allows us to create a value between 0 and 1, and it is quite useful for binary classification. But when it comes to multi-class classification, we need a different kind of activation function. And the softmax is the activation function which allows us to create output which can be of several classes, and all the probability across multiple classes can add it up to 1. It provides us a relative probabilities of the Lie classes, and it has a certain function form. It is x raised to zi sigma j x raised to jj, and remember this is nothing but the z I. The I is equal to 1 to n. We have seen similar kind of function when we did embedding, particularly random walk embedding. And here, as I told you, if we have 3-class problem, the total probability of this output will sum to 1. So softmax activation function is another activation function which is widely used for a multi-class classification problem. What about output layer? Choice of output layer and activation depends on the task. As I discussed earlier, when there is the only task of classification, then the output layer may be depending on binary or multiple. There is a different number of nodes. Similarly, if it's a regression task where I want to predict certain dependent variables, in those cases I will have a number of output equal to number of dependent variables. For example, as I told you, regression task output can be continuous value without activation at the output layer. This is just a suggestion. You can have some function also. And here this h will come from L minus 1th hidden layer. L. In a binary classification, we can use sigmoid activation, where the output as a 1 or 0, and sample is labeled as a 0 or 1. So we can apply sigmoid classification activation to get probability of sample being labeled as a 1 or 0. Multi-class classification, as we discussed, we are interested in several classes and the sample being labeled as a I minus 1th, where the I minus 1th will be the class, and softmax can be used as a activation function. So depending on the task, the outer layer activation function can change. It can be simple one for the regression class. For binary class classification problem, it can be sigmoid, and softmax activation function for multi-class classification.